Hey everyone, it's Akilah from HeartsChat, and today I'm going to be talking about how teens and parents can effectively communicate with each other. As you can see, I have a special guest with me today to help me on this topic, and I decided to talk about this topic today because I feel like it's very important for parents and teens to have open communication with each other. But I thought I'd put a little spin on this and hear it from a teenager's perspective. Alright, so I'm going to let her introduce herself. So, can you tell the people your name, your age, what grade you're in, what you want to be when you grow up, and a special fact that no one knows about you.
Okay, so my name is Ciara. I am 15 years old. I'm a freshman. I want to be an actress when I get older. And something that not a lot of people know is that I have 2 published poems.
Pretty cool. I know that, of course, because this is my cousin. But we'll get right into it. So, Ciara, how do you feel your relationship is with your parents?
Honestly, I have a great relationship with my parents. I feel that both my mom and my dad, I can tell them anything and they'll be open-minded about it and give me their honest perspective.
Okay, and how, when did you, get the feeling that you could do this? Like, how did they come about saying this thing, that it would be okay for you to talk to them about different things?
Ever since I was little, my parents have always told me that it would be okay to talk to them about everything. Obviously, as I got a little bit older, in my preteen years, it became awkward because more serious things began to come up in my life. But it's one of those things that you can't be afraid to go to your parents about, because if you are, you're not going to get any help with anything. And I know for a lot of times, girls, it's a little awkward talking to your dad about things. But personally, I just came over that. And it's probably one of the best decisions I've made in a long time.
Why would you say that?
I think because, not that I don't love my mom's point of view, but my mom and my dad have very different point of views. And
Very
for
true.
me personally, that is a good thing. So I get to see all sides of a situation. Because sometimes I can be very singular in the way that I think.
Okay.
And I like to see what the people who care about me the most have to say.
Okay, cool. I really like that answer. It seems like you guys have been able to truly foster a relationship that has an open communication. Okay, so what is something your parents do that helps you feel comfortable talking to them?
Well, with my dad especially, I just think that his personality makes it easy to talk to him. But I think something that they do is they really listen to me when we're having really serious conversations. They let me get my thoughts out before they say anything, which I think is really important because it's like what they're thinking doesn't interject or influence what I'm feeling before I hear their opinion, My opinion isn't influenced before it's ready to be.
Okay.
And I think that that's important.
And I think, you kind of hit what they say, the nail on the head. Basically, this is what my last Periscope I did was about, listening and how to effectively listen, because that's truly important. A lot of times when we're listening to people, we're not listening to them. We're not hearing what they're saying, what they're trying to tell us. We try to interject and give our opinions and different things like that. So I think that's really important that you said that your parents allow you that area, that space to talk through your stuff before giving their own opinions. So that's really, really good. Do you feel that your parents understand you?
I'm not going to say that they don't, because they do, but I also am in the mindset that I'm always right. So in some situations, I don't think that they're understanding what I'm saying, but in hindsight, they do. There's some things that I feel like they don't necessarily understand, because although they've been in my position, they haven't been in my exact shoes. But I think that they're able to give me good advice through what they've been through and able to tweak what they say to fit what I'm going through. Yeah.
I think a lot of what you said was really, really good, because a lot of what you said I sometimes deal with in terms of my clients, because I see a lot of teens and their parents, where their parents are giving them advice from a place that they may not necessarily know what's going on in their life, but they know the emotions, the feelings behind it, because feelings don't change. When you're mad, you're mad. You're sad, you're sad. Heartbroken, you're heartbroken. The experiences may be different, but the feelings are still there, so they're able to draw on their feelings to kind of help you. So I think that's really, a lot of what you're saying is very, very true. So what do you think some of the issues your generation is facing right now?
I think social media is a big root of a lot of our problems. There's a lot of, I'm one who loves social media,
Yes,
but
she does.
there's a lot of bullying over social media that I don't think is right. there's a lot of bullying because of the way you dress, and I feel like this kind of like spans through all generations, but through the way you dress, and the big thing right now is your sexual orientation.
Okay.
At my high school, I see a lot of people getting bullied for that, but the school I go to really supports people who go through that. But I think that's a big thing, and I think it's a lot of pressure to be this cookie cutter type of person and to do these things that you might not want to do, but because this one thinks it's cool and this one's gonna get you to go to this party, that's why you should do it.
Okay. So, I'm gonna agree with you 100%. Social media is definitely a source of, negative problems in your generation. Now, I'm not going to bash social media because I think social media is good for a lot of things. But there's also the negative side of it in terms of, I think the main issue is the bullying. Bullying has always been through the years, but now it's more accessible. It can be 24/7 if you want it. Before, it was just like on a school playground and that was it. Yeah. But now you guys are facing this all the time, and you're also facing the pressures to be Instagram famous and all these crazy things. Like at 15 in high school, like, you shouldn't even be worried about things like that. You should be able to just do your work, try to fit in whatever you decide to do. But I feel like there's just so much more pressure to be grown up than you really need to be.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's a big issue is in friendship bullying, which is one of the things that a lot of people don't realize until you step outside of your friend group. And me personally, I see it a lot because I'm a person who, I'm not cliquey. I don't associate myself with one clique. I do have friends that I am closer to, but I am very welcoming towards all people, and I feel like people in my generation are very much so like, these are my friends. These are the only people that I hang out with. These are the only people that I associate myself with, and I don't think that that's good.
Can you please explain what in friendship bullying, I think that's how you worded it. What is that? Explain that.
For me, when I've seen it, it's like when your friends low-key bully you, like...
Can you explain what low-key is for some of our viewers?
They'll bully you, but they'll not be as upfront about it. They'll kind of do it in a way where they're kind of hiding it, which me personally, like, I've had that happen to me, but sometimes I know it's not serious, and I think with friendship, there's a line between being serious and kidding that's very faint, and a lot of times people cross it, and if you don't know where that crossing point is for a certain person, it can really hurt them.
Okay. So it sounds like a kind of modern day Mean Girls type of thing.
Yeah.
Do you find that this is also happening in guy friendships as well, or is it just girls? I know obviously you're not a boy, but kind of from what your friends are giving.
I will definitely say that guy friendships kind of have a more different dynamic. With my brother, they're just like upfront about it. Like if they have something to say to you that is not very nice, they'll flat out say it. But with girls, at least the girls that I know, they'll hide it in such a way where at first it doesn't seem like it's rude, but then it keeps piling on, and it's the type of thing that it's like, oh, she said your hair looks a little different today, but it'll be the kind of thing where she's like, oh, did you do something different with your hair? But the undertones aren't like, I like your hair, it's different. It's a negative thing, and you don't realize it until later, and it's one of those things that can really get to you, especially if you're not talking to your parents. Like, I think that's, for me personally, like, I haven't really experienced bullying, but for situations like that, I think that's one of the best times to talk to your parents.
Okay. Do you find any other issues that you haven't covered already? Because so far you have bullying in terms of everything, but more it seems like nowadays it's sexual orientation that seems to be the biggest bullying kind of situation happening right now, as well as friendship bullying. What else?
Like I said before, there's a lot of pressure, but with people I go to school with, I don't know if this is like crossing the line for your channel, but it's a lot of sexual pressure. It's, well, this one did this, so now you have to do this, and this girl gets around, and this and that. I don't condone all this sexual activity on young age because I don't personally think that it's appropriate.
Okay.
But I also think that people can do what they feel they want to do as long as it's not hurting anybody. And I think that looking down upon somebody for that isn't right, you know? Yeah.
You know, I want to comment back to something you said before in terms of being, you know, something that's inappropriate or appropriate for the channel. And, you know, that this is a topic that's really taboo in our society in terms of teenagers and sex or sexuality, things like that. But I think it's also important to talk about because it's happening whether you want to talk about it or not.
Yeah.
And it is a very big pressure, I feel, for you guys, especially you're sitting right here telling us that. It's just a very big pressure, I think. And it's definitely more of a pressure now, too, because you guys have access to everything because of technology.
Yeah.
You have access. You don't even have to ask your parents anymore about some of these things. You could just Google it because everyone has a phone. So I think it's important. That's a specific topic that I think is very important for parents and their teens to be openly talking about. Not in the sense where you're giving details and different things like that, but educating them and allowing them to talk to you if they do have questions and things like that, because unfortunately it's happening no matter what.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, and it's more dangerous when people aren't talking about it.
And like, just for parents out there, it's probably happening a lot more than you know. So make sure you're open with your kids about it because, like I said, it's happening a lot more than you know. And rather than be safe doing it than not knowing, you know, what to do, then, you know.
Okay. I mean, that's definitely when we wrap up, we can revisit that section of it. So in terms of you, do you think your parents understand your generation's issues?
Definitely. Anytime I've come to my parents with anything, to me it seems like they completely understand. Some of the issues that I talked about a bit earlier don't necessarily pertain to me, but I do have friends who've gone through things who unfortunately felt like they couldn't talk to their parents, but they felt like they could come to mine. And with those issues that I didn't have, but my friends did, my parents were able to help them through that as well. So I think that they kind of have a collective mindset of what they're saying, not only from where they are in their lives now, but I also feel like things that they've been through as teenagers, they put together and kind of like, here's the advice from who I am now and who I was.
Okay, that's a great answer. So, in terms of something you said before, you know, some teens do have a difficult time talking to their parents. What do you think could be some tips that you can give those teens to kind of helping them open that relationship a little bit more?
I think the first thing is you have to ease into it. Like, it's not something that you can just force because it's going to be awkward. Like flat out, you have to be, first of all, you have to be very comfortable with your parents. Like, you can't go in thinking that this is going to be this sugar cookie nice conversation because it might not be. And I've had conversations that weren't. But ultimately, your parents have your best interest at heart, and that's what they're trying to get through. And it's one of those things where it definitely has to be private. Like, you can't have a conversation with your parents like in front of everybody, sometimes not even in front of your siblings. And you might need to do it one conversation with mom, one conversation with dad, and have it that way. Because sometimes if you have parents like mine who have very different mindsets on things, they will clash. And it's better to hear them separate. And you also have to be open to what they're saying. You can't cut them off because then you both are just going to get frustrated. You have to be relaxed. I know I have really good conversations with my mom when we're in the car, but on the other end of the spectrum, my dad and I have the best conversations when we're just sitting in his room talking. So you have to know how your parents are, and you have to know where you're most comfortable in your environment. Me and my mom, we spend hours in the car together. So that's like our most comfortable environment where we're able to talk the most. And I think that's probably the best place to start, where you guys are comfortable, because then it can just go from there.
Okay. So I wrote down kind of the tips that you've given for teens. And ultimately what she's saying is, you know, take it slow with your parents because you never know how they're going to react, and you don't want to force something that may not be there right then and there. You said it will be awkward, and I think that's something, if you accept that it will be awkward, you guys can get over the awkwardness.
Yeah.
I think the third one you said was know your parents and know yourself. I think those are a great tip because you've lived with your parents, you kind of know how they react to certain things. And you have to know yourself, how you're going to react to what they're saying. The fourth one you said was, you know, just be open.
Yeah.
And I think that comes, or be open and be comfortable, that's what I said. I think that comes with time. the more and more you talk to your parents, the more and more I think you both will become comfortable with the situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not something that happens overnight, like you were saying. When I first started talking to my parents, I mean, like I said, I've always talked to them, but when things got more serious and I first started talking to them, it wasn't something that, okay, we start talking, it's very comfortable. For me, I really had to step out of my comfort zone and be able to talk to them. Mm-hmm. It was definitely like I had to ease into it.
And I think, I'm not a parent yet, but I think something that works well in any relationship in terms of communication and things like that is for parents, you know, you guys have to be open to hearing your children, because I know you may look at them as your children, as your teen, as your baby, but they are growing up, they're becoming more independent, they're developing, they're becoming more of adults. Teens are kind of people too, is what I like to say, even though they can be very crazy at times. But no, teens are people too and have their own mind, have their own thoughts, and have their own opinions. And it's a tough time, I think, in the parent-child relationship, because your parents are having you go from being babies where they're taking care of you to kind of letting you go. And that can be hard for some parents, I feel.
And I think, I mean, obviously I'm not a parent, but I think for parents, you really have to listen to your kids, because there are a lot of situations where your kids already don't feel like they're being heard, whether it's by you or anybody else. So you're the one person who they really, you know, I think should really want to talk to and really want to be heard by you. And if you're not listening to them, they're not going to feel like anybody else is, which means they're not going to be able to talk to anyone if they can't talk to you.
So it comes down to trust.
Ultimately, yeah.
Now, I want to talk about the other side for kids who may not be able to talk to their parents, because this is a real thing that can happen. Like, you try all these tips, it just doesn't work. My suggestion then would be to find a trusted adult, whether it's a teacher, a counselor, a coach, another family member that you feel would be open to talking to you, and then in turn they may be able to talk to your parents to get them a little bit more open so that you can talk to them. Because it is something, there is a barrier that people can come up against. They try all the things we just talked about and it still doesn't work. So reach out to other supports in your life, other trusted, and I'll repeat that again, other trusted people, because there are people out there who are not going to give you the best advice.
Yeah.
So other trusted adults, I should say, that would help you in your situation, and maybe look to your parents to kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, and I think for teenagers, like, there's a lot going on. I feel like, I mean, at least for me, like, in my life right now, and I don't know where I would be if I didn't have somebody to talk to. And I think there's always somebody, you just have to find them, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Was there anything else you wanted to add to the conversation before we wrap it up?
I mean, not really add, just, I can't stress enough, just be open about the conversations, and it's going to be awkward. Like, again, like, you have to ease into it.
Okay. And I think the last thing I'll add is that parents, leave it open for the conversation with teens, because they need you. You're important figures in our lives, and the things that you do or say will influence them and impact how they are doing with other relationships. So if you, as a parent, if you feel like you can't have these open conversations, maybe direct them to people who can, or you talk to somebody who may be able to help you to be more open with your kids. So I want to thank Ciara so much for coming on to talk with me about how teens and parents can effectively talk with each other. So you guys can check us out every Sunday and Tuesday. New episodes up on YouTube, or you can go to our website, which is www.HeartsChatRadioshow.com. So we thank you for tuning in.